Hey, this is Josh for the Camera Project, and today I'm at Van Vleck House and Gardens in Montclair, New Jersey to try out the Manfrotto BeFree GT-X Pro carbon fiber travel tripod. Before I go into the tripod, I want to mention that this tripod was provided for me to review and provided for me to keep. However, I was not paid for this review and they have no say in what I'm gonna say. With that out of the way, let's talk about why I'm doing yet another travel tripod review. As I may have said before, tripods can be a bit like photo bags. You're always in search of the perfect one, and there's no one size fits all. Some will fit better to certain shooting conditions than others, so it's good to have a few in your roster. What drew me to this tripod, however, was a feature that I had never seen in another travel tripod, and frankly, something I've always felt was missing from travel tripods, and that is the ability to rotate the center column to be parallel with the ground to allow for low angle shooting or shooting straight down. This is something that comes in handy for product photography and macro work. The latter, macro work, is why I picked Van Vleck House and Gardens for today's shoot. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of flower photography. In fact, in general, I find it a bit boring, but when I do get interested in it is when there's some interesting technique that comes in. So today we'll be going out to shoot some flowers and we'll try some interesting flash techniques to, in my mind anyway, make it a bit more interesting. Okay, so the tripod itself, I'm gonna take it out of the bag, and as you can see, it comes with this typical Manfrotto BeFree case. The only complaint I have with this is, well, that they all look the same. So I have two other Manfrotto BeFree tripods, another of which I reviewed, and the first one I bought with my own money. So it is the typical reverse folding legs, as you can see, and it is carbon fiber. It takes on a really interesting sheen in the sunlight, and it is a 4-section leg, so it's a twist lock. You can see I can very quickly sort of tighten it down. Just make sure I got that first one. Okay, so let's talk about the specs of this tripod. Without getting too crazy on the details, the tripod weighs 3.88 pounds, closes down to 16.93 inches, and has a max height of 63.78 inches. It features a ball head at the top and has a minimum height of 3.54 inches. One of the most impressive stats is that it has a payload of 26.46 pounds, which should cover most mirrorless or DSLR camera and lens combos, and even some accessories if you were doing video and need to put a monitor on or anything like that. So it's very versatile. The biggest feature, however, is this unique 90-degree rotating center column. So let me explain how this works. You need to make sure this knob is loose here, and you can see I can then raise and lower it. But the interesting thing comes if I hit a sort of hidden button underneath it here. So if I hit that, I can then pull it all the way out and just rotate it. So then I just bring it back in a little and tighten it down, and we have our bar facing parallel to the ground for those really special angles that you don't usually get with most travel tripods. So a little bit about Van Vleck House and Gardens. It originated as a 12-acre private estate more than 140 years ago when Joseph Van Vleck Sr. and his family moved to Montclair from Brooklyn in 1868. The current house was built in 1916. The family lived there for years, of course, and then in 1993, the heirs of Howard Van Vleck gifted the house and grounds at 21 Van Vleck Street to the Montclair Foundation, an organization with a mission to support nonprofits. Now, the cool thing is that now that it's a public space, there's these beautiful, well-maintained gardens that people could come and visit and really get to explore this really unique old mansion. Okay, so the technique I really want to try today is using flash to isolate the flower and hopefully make it a little more interesting. Now, I am a little late in the season for flowers, so it's nothing too spectacular out here, but let's take a look. Right now I have, of course, our Manfrotto BeFree GT-X Pro carbon fiber tripod, and I have it rotated so it is facing downward to hopefully catch the perfect shot of this flower here. I have my Godox flash set up, aiming down at it on a light stand of its own, and it is pointed down. So I just want to take a test shot and kind of see what I get. Now I've already sort of set up the framing, although I want to adjust it a hair. So I'm just going to use the ball head to do that. And of course, that's what's so nice about a ball head. There are 2 levels of adjustment on this ball head. The main tension knob, of course, but then there's this sort of micro adjustment of how quickly or slowly you want it to move. So right now I just kind of have it centered up. Let's just take a test shot, see how it looks. And you know, it's kind of the right idea now, but because I am so close to the ground with my framing, I'm of course flashing the ground as well. Now I'm at f16 to basically cancel out the daylight. If I were to take a test frame of this without the flash, let me just go ahead and do that. I just shut off the flash, and yeah, it's, at least from the back of the screen, looks like blackness to me. And so I turn the flash back on, do another frame just like this, and it's not bad. Now I have this or this sticking into my frame, so I need to move that out. The other thing I want to try is I brought a cloth with me, okay? So I just brought a black cloth with me. So I'm gonna sort of drape this over the ground, which will hopefully at least make it easier in post to sort of isolate this. It's nothing too spectacular here, but just a simple sort of suede texture cloth, which will hopefully not bounce a lot of that light back. And that is looking pretty good. Okay, so let's talk about our next setup here. Again, it's, you know, late in the season, so most of the flowers are flowers that are on bushes or trees. They're not just kind of the individual, more delicate flowers. So I don't know how it will isolate because it is in a bunch of flowers. Now, one thing I didn't talk about before, if you look down here, I have my tripod and there is a built-in area to hang something from. I didn't have an S-hook with me, so I wound up using a Peak Design quick strap and my Peak Design everyday backpack to do that job for me, which is necessary because when you have the arm of the tripod out here, the weight of the tripod itself isn't enough to hold it. So you definitely will need some kind of counterbalance when you have the arm like this. So again, I have my Godox flash pointed at the flowers. I have my camera set up with the remote trigger. Let's see what we get. I already put the black background. I'm just gonna clean a little bit of dirt off of it. So let's see how this one looks. Okay, so I've been out shooting here at Van Vleck House and Gardens, and of course, testing out the Manfrotto Be-Free GT X Pro carbon fiber travel tripod. And this is the time in the review where I have to come to some conclusions. And I hate to always say I like it. So I'm gonna start with things that I don't like. One, it's a Manfrotto, I think it's a PT200 plate or something along those lines. I wish it was an Arca compatible plate. It would just make life easier, but I think there are plates that you can use that will sort of work in both if you purchase that separately. So that's one gripe. The other, well, obviously if you have the center column out, it's not heavy enough to balance the camera when the weight is pointed down like that. But honestly, that's not the fault of the tripod. Even much heavier duty tripods are gonna have the same problem, and they've solved it by having this hook here. I wish it came with an S-hook to attach something to it, but that's okay too. Most tripods wouldn't come with that. So I just use this Peak Design loop here and use my backpack to hook that up really quickly. So overall, you know, I like it. It's got a really nice ball head that's pretty simple to adjust and locks down very tightly and securely. It's got sort of the double release plate action here, so you're sure that your camera is locked in and it's not going anywhere. It just feels solid. And going forward, this is going to be my go-to travel tripod for photography. Not really a video tripod. Of course, you could use it, but you know, you're not gonna have panning and tilting and fluid drag and things like that. So again, not really a video tripod, but it would certainly do the trick if you don't need those things. For photography though, it's solid. It's a nice mix of portability and functionality. It feels very secure, which is a problem with a lot of travel tripods where they're light, but you don't really trust them. And this one I do. With that 26-pound payload, yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's gonna hold my gear, which is much, much lighter than that. So overall, I really like this tripod, and I've enjoyed my day shooting out here. Hopefully you enjoyed some of the pictures. None of them were fantastic, I know. But I'm gonna blame that on the late in the season flowers. It's their fault, not mine. Okay, anyway, if you like this video, please like and subscribe and, you know, click the buttons. Do it. I'm supposed to say that. It's part of the script. Do it. Do it. Come on.